It's your wedding day, and you're beautiful, the perfect bride. And if you're the Queen of England, you're getting a little something extra. Because this portrait, it's been photoshopped. Think of it as Photoshop 19th century style, because in real life, Victoria wasn't exactly a fairy tale princess. Cameras were brutally honest. She was barely 5 feet tall, stocky, with a sharp nose and a dour expression. Enter her chosen image maker, Franz Xaver Winterhalter, Victoria's painter of choice and practically on her PR payroll. His job was to turn Victoria from a grumpy monarch into a storybook queen. And on his canvas, that's exactly what happened. She seemed to rise taller, her presence softened into something radiant and almost delicate, a fantasy version of herself. These weren't just flattering portraits, they were reinventions. Images that never truly matched the woman herself, but projected the version she wanted history to remember. And if you thought Photoshops and filters are modern-day obsessions, let me just tell you, it doesn't stop with the Queen of England, or even with Winterhalter. Across the English Channel, Winterhalter's brush was just as busy. In France, Empress Eugénie was a star client. This famous portrait of Eugénie with her ladies-in-waiting looks like a 19th century Vanity Fair photo shoot. Eugénie is radiant at the center, while her court is reduced to an elegant backdrop. But once again, the photographs tell a different story. Eugénie looks formidable, handsome even, but never delicate or dainty. And this was how Winterhalter airbrushed her into a softer vision. Did Empress Eugénie want flattering portraits? Of course. But more than vanity, these were politics. You see, Napoleon III, that's Eugénie's husband and the nephew of the Napoleon, wasn't exactly popular with the people of France. When his presidency came to an end, instead of stepping down, he staged a coup and crowned himself emperor. To shore up his shaky rule, he tried everything, revamping Paris with wide boulevards and picturesque parks, and hosting not one, but 2 World's Fairs to project France's prestige and modernity. Meanwhile, Eugénie had her own image problem. Born Eugenia de Montijo in Granada, Spain, she was never fully embraced by the French court, despite her noble birth. So Winterhalter's portraits smoothed her outsider edges and reframed her as France's gracious and rightful empress, the radiant face of a fragile empire. So did Winterhalter invent the glow-up? No, far from it. But he learned from one of the best. His mentor, Joseph Stieler, had already made a career of idealizing his sitters in Munich, most famously with King Ludwig I's Gallery of Beauties. It's an elegant room filled with 38 portraits of women showing off their polished and flawless good looks. Stieler painted 36 of them, creating what was essentially a 19th century Instagram wall. And this gallery wasn't limited to queens and princesses. If the king thought you were beautiful, you could find yourself on that wall. This is Helene Zedermeyer. She was a daughter of a shoemaker and was hailed as Munich's most beautiful girl. And Anna Hillmeyer was a daughter of a game meat dealer. Beauty crossed class lines, or at least as Ludwig defined it. But not every sitter met the ideal. Stieler admitted to making cosmetic corrections to Maria Diesch's portrait because he didn't find her an excellent beauty. It makes you wonder though, would he have dared say the same about a queen or a princess? And Stieler wasn't confined to painting just women. His most reproduced portrait is of Beethoven, who you might say received his own painterly glow-up. Winterhalter, once Stieler's student, took this aesthetic and exported it across England, France, and the rest of Europe. Here's Empress Maria Alexandrovna of Russia. In life, she was frail, often ill, and described as pale and brittle. But in Winterhalter's hands, she appears, well, healthy, and also airy, swathed in lace and gauze, her gown shimmering with pearls and delicate ribbons. And then there's Elizabeth of Austria, also known as Sisi. Already a celebrity for her beauty and her legendary floor-length hair, she didn't need fixing. His portrait of Sisi in the white gown adorned with glittering stars wasn't just fashion. It was myth-making, and it became the image by which history still knows her. Winterhalter died in 1873, just as photography was gaining ground. So, are we done with the age of flattering portraits? The hunger to look better than reality never went away. A generation later, John Singer Sargent took it further. Where Winterhalter softened, Sargent electrified. He staged sitters like actors, draped them in fabric, lit them like stars, and added a swagger the camera never caught. Put his portraits side by side with photographs, and the difference is striking. In photos, well, they were people. In paint, they were unforgettable. This is Millicent, Duchess of Sutherland. Even in photographs, she had that quiet, refined beauty, composed, almost classical in its poise. But Sargent's portrait gave her something more. In that sweeping green gown and crown with the laurel leaf tiara, she isn't just a duchess in a shadowed garden. She's mythic, almost Diana-like, transformed into a vision of grace and command. But portraiture didn't always stop at flattery. Sometimes it crossed into obsession and scandal. This is Dr. Samuel Pozzi, a respected French surgeon and a gynecologist. And here he is, resurrected by Sargent. He is practically smoldering. Tall, elegant, and wrapped in a scarlet robe, he is less doctor than high priest of desire. Sargent made him unforgettable as the man in red who looks like he owns the night. And then there's Madame X, real name Virginie Gautreau. Born in Louisiana but raised in France, she quickly became Paris's it girl. With her, Sargent exaggerated everything. The pale lavender skin, the taut unnatural pose, and the razor-sharp profile that became her signature. And originally, he even painted a diamond strap slipping off her shoulder. Well, Paris wasn't ready. Critics called it indecent, even corpse-like. Sargent repainted the strap, but still, he fled to London. Yet today, the portrait that scandalized Paris is considered a masterpiece, one that turned a socialite into an eternal icon. Portraiture has always wrestled with the choice, idealization or honesty. And not every painter chose flattery. A century earlier, Francisco Goya, head painter to King Charles IV of Spain, painted the royals exactly as they saw them. Awkward, frumpy, and even a little grotesque. This marked a sharp shift in his style since he had once painted the monarchy with the same flattering touch as his peers. The results were so bluntly unflattering, they border on parody. And yet, Charles IV and Queen Maria Luisa actually liked these portraits. They felt they showed them honestly and with dignity. So, there you have it. Whether it's Winterhalter smoothing reality, Sargent elevating sitters into legend, or Goya going with truthful gravitas, portraiture has always been about shaping identity as much as recording it. Photoshop may be new, but the instinct isn't. So the next time you see a king or queen looking suspiciously radiant on canvas, now you know who really did the heavy lifting. Thanks for stopping by, and see you next time.